Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sriya. Joining me today is Sridhar Chityala ji as we talk about DGI 449. Sridhar ji, Namaskar and welcome to P Guru's channel. How are you, sir?
Namaskar. Good evening, good morning to you, sir. I'm doing very good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well, sir. First, let us start off with some major breaking news. I have the slide deck with your permission, sir. Let us start cracking. Houthi group have damaged a ship offshore Yemen, forcing its crew to abandon the vessel in the latest escalation in the Red Sea. The EU follows United Kingdom in launching Red Sea-bound naval mission to protect vessels from Houthi attack. But there is one problem that I see. The, the drones that Houthi is using are $10,000 each. The missiles used to strike them down are $1 million a piece. Something is wrong here, sir.
Well, I think that they are discovering this is the same situation as to what happened in Russia-Ukraine war. This is the same situation. You have to give a lot of credit to the Turkish innovation and the Iranian innovation in terms of how they've come up with this low-cost drones, and they can keep firing these rockets, and they can inflict sufficient damage without kind of disproportionate and significant damage and keep hurting. And that's what is going on in this asymmetric war, which is at high cost. Now, unless you do a ground invasion and basically take out some of this key infrastructure, this is not going to go. So Biden has very clearly declared or announced we have no intention to start a war. We have no intention to fight Hamas or Houthis. We just want to make sure that they are not a nuisance to us in terms of the navigation. When you upfront make such an announcement, you are effectively saying, hey, you keep firing at us, and, we'll send these huge fleets with huge cost and see where this breaks down, Sriji.
So there is a feeling now in the United States that perhaps this war cannot be ended in the way it is going. So there has to be some change in tactics. And they are now saying, US, we will not win this war. But there is also Somalia acting up. And with your permission, sir, I'll present a screen that you can look at that also. Just give me 1 second, sir. Here you go. Can you see it?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Hmm. I thought I had it. Just 1 second, sir. I'll figure this out.
So I'll continue to speak. First and foremost on
Yeah,
the ship that
yeah.
the station ship, which is Rubimar, which is a UK registered ship. And it's a UK registered ship operated by the Lebanese and has a Belize flag. You remember Belize flag? The flags that fly on some of the ships which can be hired. And this ship was targeted, and Houthis have made a huge press release saying that this ship is about to sink. Should it sink, it is a kind of a very, very big ceremonial kind of a disaster for the Western world. This is a UK ship. Right now, the crew has abandoned, but the fact the ship has been targeted and taken down is a very big embarrassment. Now, EU says it is going to send its fleet. Remember, there has been consistent and continuous kind of attacks to thwart any of these attempts, but it is going on relentless by the Houthis in the Red Sea, sometimes causing damage, sometimes escaping or intercepted by the so-called ally, initially UK and United States, subsequently joined by 6 other countries. Now EU is sending its fleet. So there is no question of any solution to Red Sea. Now, on top of this, today Biden announced that here's the irony. In Somalia, when President Trump came to, this is the territory of Al Shabaab, and we had covered this extensively in the Sahel kind of region. This is the hodgepodge headquarters of the Al Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, the Al Shabaab. He says that he's not going to be able to win this war. And originally, Trump said, this is not a war that we want to fight. He withdrew as soon as Biden came over. And, Biden, redeployed the armed forces. Now he wants to withdraw. Now, where is Somalia? Somalia is sitting on the other side of the Gulf of Aden, or sitting on the Red Sea facing Yemen on the other side. Now, look at the situation. Both the Red Sea mouth, as well as the Gulf of Aden, as well as the Persian Gulf, all getting kind of, blocked and thwarted. It seems to be a consistent pattern. It begs the question, what's the reason at this point of time to make this announcement that this is not a winnable war and we're going to withdraw? This is where Biden getting into the war to start with, Sriji. Now, here's the other kind of big issue that the Biden administration and the world kind of faces. This situation has been potent for quite some time. Remember the number of Somali. There's a very famous Somali lady who is a House member from United States, and the number of Somalis coming into United States, and the kind of the refugee issues. And you have this type of an announcement that is being made right in the middle of great problems around the whole navigation gateways: Indian Ocean, Middle East, Red Sea, Persian Gulf, Suez Canal, going all the way into the other side, which is Black Sea, which is where the Russians, the Turks, and others involved, Sriji.
So thank you on that update, sir. And now the Israeli invasion of Rafah, which is the last possible, area before the Egyptian border comes up, they are expecting 8 weeks, which means realistically probably 16 weeks. Sanwar, is he still there? Sinwar, I think, the leader, because there is talk of changing the leadership also.
No, they can't find him. Even after the Rafa, the Nazar hospital, they haven't found him. They believe that he could have probably escaped into Lebanon. He's not in Gaza. So the upshot of it is they're not going to listen to the United Nations ceasefire. They're not going to listen to the European ceasefire. They're very clear. They're going to prosecute the war. They say that they are conscious of Ramadan, and this would be an 8 weeks intense war, and they're trying to finish it before Ramadan. So they're hell bent on moving forward and getting this done, Sriji.
Thank you, sir. And next, about Trump's lawsuit, where he has been asked to pay $351 million. And this relates to how he has been doing business in New York. Sir, there is a new development. First of all, Trump has said this is all pack of lies. I'm going to appeal this. So he'll probably take it to the next higher court. But the truckers union in New York has said that we are going on strike. It looks unrelated because truckers are usually seen as blue collar workforce, ergo Democrats. Tell us what is going on, sir. Does it mean that more blue collar workforce is now looking at Trump?
Well, I think that there is a clearly discontent prevalent right across. The illegals coming in, inflation, mounting inflation, supply chain issues in terms of logistics and availability of the goods to be moved across, wage issues, wage negotiation and wage issues, all pointing to the truckers union basically saying, we want better kind of conditions and better wages, and also probably better security, given the prevalent situation in United States, 3G. So you have a whole combination of activities. Remember, truckers have always been, the workers who have been with the Republican Party. So there is also this scenario which is being painted, that is whether Trump has kind of instigated this to go after the Democrats. So this is all kind of muddy waters, but the fact of life is there is complete chaos right now, both in organized and unorganized workforce. Right in the middle of this is what they are saying, that they will bring the illegals in, which is also creating a problem because they say they would be given temporary work permits. What kind of jobs are they going to go into? These are some of the questions that are propping up, Sriji.
Sir, usually United States thinks these things through. even allowing illegal immigration, they think these things through, that this is where we'll house them. This is the number of people that we can afford. This is how we are going to be bringing them into the workforce by going through a 6 week, 12-week program, training program. These are the skill sets that we think these people may be able to satisfy. I see nothing of that. Sir, someone has it out for us. I mean, for people of United States. Who is this rascal, sir?
Well, I think that there's some very interesting, the whole, we heard a lot of things on the Mayorkas impeachment proceedings in terms of lack of controls and lack of enforcement and the funding being deprived and a lot of arbitrariness in terms of the enforcement and people coming in. The latest development, and we don't want to go back and cover the whole topic of these guys being housed in hospitals, being given medical coverage, being given money and given temporary work permits, etc. Apparently, what's now happening in, let's say, in Detroit or in Michigan, what's happening now is the so-called refugee relief centers or refugee centers or immigration integration centers. Now they're saying every they're asking volunteers, family volunteers, to come out and basically say, would you house some of these illegals 90 days in your home, 90 days in your home, not only not just in the society, in your home. And in states like New York and even in California, some of the schools have been taken over and they have housed them there. I saw during the COVID, the illegals happening, they put up their temporary shelters right in Manhattan, midtown Manhattan, right in midtown Manhattan, putting up around the house, around the streets. So what is going on is a hodgepodge and ad hoc, chaotic settlement of these people with no ability to throw them out, Sriji.
You know what, Sridharji, this is just something that struck me just now. Clearly, there was a one term only agreement between Biden and X, let's say X, and that X is extremely unhappy that Biden has announced his re-election campaign, that he's going to run another term. And I think X is the one that is instigating all these things. That X has always been a plant by some vested interests. I will leave it to you guys to guess who this X is, but that's how it seems to me, sir. Somewhere somebody's playing nasty, nasty business. Now, Sridharji, tomorrow, if elections are held, I think even if the best rigging efforts, let's not say that it's rigging, creative election efforts, I think Trump will win in a canter.
I think based on the current poll numbers, all numbers indicating Trump is leading 65-35 over Biden. This is what is creating fissures or tremors in the Democratic ranks, that there is a lot of frustrated Democratic voters, who may be, some of them may be even truckers, who are going to vote against Biden. What did Rashida Tlaib say, for the primary in Michigan, Shriji? She basically said, when should Biden's candidacy come up, please do not vote for Biden. Basically say no vote.
Well, we'll wait and see. Shooting in Times Square. Police officers jump in midtown. Thieves on mopeds snatching jewelry point to thriving crime wave in the sanctuary city. It's just not this one city, sir. San Francisco has gone to hell in a handbasket. That is that's a favorite American expression to say that something is really, really bad. And now, I mean, every sanctuary city, you remember in Portland 3 years ago, that
Right.
police was asked to stay out of a square. You can't even get inside.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Washington State, Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, Minneapolis. These are all the Rubicons of this utter chaos and non-enforcement and defund police movements, where now it is spreading to the other places. Well, while there is apprehension around the law and order, it's also very clear, but there's nobody listening. But as you rightly pointed out, is Biden a one term president? If so, is somebody hearing to Biden or someone else is running the government in parallel? Given the situation of Biden, where he couldn't differentiate between Helmut Kohl and Angela Merkel, and he couldn't differentiate between Francois Mitterrand, and Emmanuel Macron, what is he, how cognitively cognizant he is in terms of delineating what is happening in terms of many of these issues that we are facing in across United States today, Sriji.
And Biden administration and the European Union are thinking of adding more sanctions on Russia after Navalny's death. Sridharji, I still don't understand. He got poisoned, but he escaped to Germany. Then why did they let him to get back into Russia, sir? They could have kept him outside of Russia.
This is where the socialist bloc, or the bloc in Europe, negotiates deals, quid pro quo for security. A lot of lapses that has happened during that period until the invasion occurred, Sriji. This is pre-invasion. And the deal was done and the guy was moved, and look at the circumstance, look at the case. His cause of death is yet to be announced. The death, and he's moved to this Siberian prison, and then eventually the death is announced by the prison authorities, no cause of death. The world goes to sleep, and then they wake up and they say they're going to do sanctions. You mean to say that sanctions are working, or has worked? And does Vladimir Putin care about the sanctions? And his message has been very clear with regard to dealing with West. He says, no, West is not going to deal with me, and I, go to hell. I know how to address my needs and my issues. Look, Iranians are supplying him machinery and equipment. Chinese are supplying him. The North Koreans are supplying him. You name a country, which Turkish probably are supplying him. There's a lot of places from where he is getting various types of resources to fund and continue his war, Sriji.
And on 24th February, the war enters its third year, and the eastern city of Avdiivka, captured by Russians in the Donetsk region, shelling intensifies in other villages. Sridharji, a couple of years ago, just when the war started, 2022, I had said, I think within a week or 2 weeks, that Russia's first target was the entire Ukraine, but that convoy of 60 odd vehicles got stuck, so they had to pull back. Then I said that the Dnipro River would be where they would want to, come up to, because the Ukraine to the right of the river is Russian Orthodox, religion-wise. To the left of Dnipro is Catholic. And I said that this could be one way that this might just come down. Is that, you think, where Putin will stop, or this is Donbass, sir? I thought Donbass was completely under his control.
No, none of these regions have been completely under his control. He has struggled to replenish his own army. Many of them are not funded. If you recall, he hired the missionaries to fight the war for him. There was a rebellion. So the Donetsk and the three Luhansk and Donetsk regions are not under his control. So the Avdiivka, which is around the tip of the Donetsk region, uh, the Ukrainians recognized they're going to be surrounded by the Russian army, so they have withdrawn. So this is the first kind of footstep for the Russian army to enter. Russia has struggled moving men, machinery, and replenishments or replacements into these regions. That is why this war has gone on. Many mispredicted the ability and the capability of the Russian army, and what you are seeing is what is being played out, Sriji. So I think that even if he gets one of the two regions, if not both, Luhansk and Donetsk, then that means he will stop there. To what extent he will come close even to the Dnipro River, we don't know as yet, Sriji.
So instead of salami tactics, he is now expanded the size of the salami. First, he gobbled up the entire Crimea. Now maybe one of the two Donbass regions is going to be the thing.
Correct.
Whatever it is, Sridharji, it is just a war of attrition, if you ask me, sir. And the people are very, I don't know why he's continuing to do this thing now. Anyway, we don't have a say to do anything. But here is an interesting story. Japan commits to funding Ukraine's rebuild post-war. What post-war, sir? They haven't even started ceasefire. Once you start ceasefire negotiations, it'll take another 6 months.
There's a very clear recognition and acceptance by the Western financial institution and the G7 nations. There will be some segment of Ukraine that will be preserved at all costs. They're not going to, this was even spoken at the Davos event. So Russia will not get its way. Ukraine will be preserved. Parts of Ukraine, what extent, what part, how much, we don't know, Shriji, but it's going to be. And both EU, Japan, and even some of the ASEAN nations have committed significant amount of funding for redevelopment of Ukraine and recreating or rebuilding or reinvigorating the economy, Shriji.
Now let's take a look at India stock markets, and we are talking about markets in general. Indian stock markets are set to achieve new highs with capital flows diverted from China, with Beijing losing its economic steam. Sridharji, this we are talking about now. Apple was the first one, I think. Then Foxconn came, and then a few other companies have come. I was expecting a little bit more than a trickle, sir. I still see a trickle. What do you think is happening?
Now, the two things. See, one is you are talking about companies relocating and deploying capital resources, etc., and shifting a percentage. Just on Apple has indicated close to 15% of its growth and 20% of its revenues, or 15%, 20% growth and 15% of its revenues come from Indian market for the next 5 years. So they're very clearly kind of shifting that demand, serving that demand in terms of its overall portfolio. It's obviously shifting towards India in the next 5 year. What is we are talking about last year, um, close to $20 billion flew into the Indian stock market, which basically from the overseas funds or overseas investors, and that gave impetus in terms of the growth in the stock market. So this is the capital flows into the stock markets is now moving towards India, and they expect the Indian stock markets in 2024 to be, 18%, 20%, 24%, depending on whom you talk, because there's a significant amount of investment that is going to go into the markets, especially on companies which are showing, potential and strong revenues and growth. Shriji, this is the divestment from investing in Chinese capital markets and moving them all into the Indian markets.
So I think what you're saying is the money that will come through India, foreign direct investment, foreign investor investment, or something like that, foreign FII, institutional investors,
Yeah.
FII and FDI. Got it, sir. Got it. Got it. Gold is expected to hit $3,000 an ounce and oil at $100 in the next 12 to 18 months, according to Citibank analysts. What is the basis for them to say this, sir?
The basis for them is very simple. Central banks have been stacking up gold, so there is a gold spurt in gold. That's one. The second is they expect interest rates to remain fairly high. Remember that we expected interest rates to taper off in the second half of the year, but it doesn't seem likely. That's the second reason. I think the third reason that people are pointing out is whenever there is a recession, there's flight of capital to safety. There's still recession in the horizon. There was a technical recession that was called out by the markets in UK. So all this points to people moving to safety heavens, and safety heaven is a gold, which is the indication for the potential elevation of gold to about $3,000 an ounce. As far as oil is concerned, remember that there's a lot of there's been supply reduction by the OPEC and OPEC plus countries. That's number one. Number two, there's also been disruptions that's been happening and you will continue to see disruptions in the Red China Sea, because there's nothing that is at least for the next 12 months until the elections happen in United States. There's nothing that is kind of expected in terms of resolution to the crisis in the sorry just resolution to the crisis in the Persian Gulf. And third, I think that people still believe that all the reductions that has happened, which was pointed out by one of the CEOs of the oil companies, that what we are living with is what we extracted 50 years ago. So there is also a supply crunch, because a lot of the licenses, under the pretext of the energy issues or energy crisis, was cut off. So all this points to a crisis in the pricing, and which is what is the Citibank analysts are pointing out, saying that don't be surprised if we go back to $100.
Sir, the net worth of the Magnificent Seven, which I like to call Atmanam or Atmanam, Atmanam, Apple, Tesla, Meta, Alphabet, Netflix, Amazon, and Microsoft. Oh, I got it right. So
Nvidia,
the
Nvidia, Nvidia.
net,
No, no,
oh,
no Netflix.
Nvidia,
Nvidia.
yeah, Nvidia, right. And that brings the net of some of these things net worth exceeds the GDP of many countries. So this has been a circular thing, because if you look at most of the index fund, they all seem to have some percentage or the other of all these stocks. So I mean, isn't there like over reliance or over emphasis on buying these stocks alone? Since COVID, I've seen this.
Well, I think first and foremost, just to put some data behind it, the market cap of these seven companies is now close to $12 trillion. Okay, market cap of United States market is around $50 trillion, right? So global market cap is about $100 trillion. So therefore, you need to take a look at, roughly it makes up 25% or 24% of the US market. Okay, that's number one. Number two, when you look at the last kind of decade, they have grown at around 25% on an average. The revenues today of these Magnificent Seven is around $2 trillion. The combined revenues is around $2 trillion and growing. So forget about the concentration risk when you actually take a look at the whole block and say, when you purely look at the financials and analytics behind it, would you invest, or would you take 10%, 20%, 30% of your portfolio against it? The answer is yes, Sriji. Why? Over the last 10 years, these companies have demonstrated not only sustained growth, but they've also been able to consistently evolve their technologies. They moved their technologies along and moved their demand and moved their customers along the evolution of the technologies. The latest, obviously, being the AI. And if Nvidia is in the top 10, because it is the driver of the AI technology. If you take a look at Microsoft, if you take a look at Apple, if you take a look at the work that is going on in Meta, they
Microsoft.
all are
Mm.
powered by the thing. Alphabet or Google is still a little bit outside. But you look at any of these areas, any of the technologies, the collaboration technologies, or if you take a look at the cloud and cloud related technologies, if you take a look at the digital marketing kind of technologies, if you take a look at the infrastructure, all these companies have moved their journey, very effectively, and also grown their global markets. And that is what has driven, if AI is the future, any of this Atmanam or these Magnificent Seven, they are all sitting there with this technology, Sriji. So you can't kind of knock them off as yet.
Thank you so much, sir. And now let's take a few questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The first question is from ZZZ. Sridharji, we have to review our MQ9 Reapers. acquisition, a 10,000 missile knocking off a $30 million, no, the other way around, a 10,000 drone knocking off a $30 million missile doesn't make sense if it is proved.
Well, I think that they're using the MQ drones purely for surveillance and also as an as an offense weapon against an army. Now, these drones are being used against unarmed ships, so therefore there's a difference between a combative weapon versus a tactical weapon, which is used as a distraction. So I think these aspects are being analyzed. So I think MQ9, I think India has done a very good job in acquiring the MQ9. If you remember, they are also they are building drones, and some of them are armed, some of them are surveillance, some of them have other kind of capabilities. So India is acquiring a whole raft of weaponry to augment its force, keeping in mind the pricing. Remember, India will eventually manufacture these things at a much lower cost within India.
Yes, indeed. And next question from Aditya Prakash. Jai Sri Ram, sir, the intent of preserving Ukraine in some form, is it a modern form of a two-state solution where guide a generation of Ukraine into hating Russia to keep Russia in check?
No, I think that there is a general belief. Everybody is a student of history. If Russia is allowed, this is the Western mind, this is most of the Western mind's opinion. If Russia is allowed to get away in this manner, it's only a matter of time before it gets to Scandinavian countries and starts expanding its footprint. So there's a very clear message that they want to send. Okay, you have picked up some chunks of the territory, but you're not going to have its way, and Ukraine will be preserved, and Russia's attacks will be dispelled. This is the situation, that is, this is the strategy, and this is the strategic intent of many of the countries, learning the lessons from World War II.
Thank you, sir. And the last question, ZZZ again. The Atmanam is just the head start. It will have a ripple effect. Which other top companies do you think will be, it's like a rising tide lifting a lot of boats.
Well, I think the difference between the top 10 and the next is so huge. Expect three categories of companies to move along this chain. One of them is going to be biotech. Companies like Eli Lilly and Amgen and any of these biotech companies, you can see them, rapidly moving in that multi-billion-dollar value chain. That's one. The second, all of these things are powered by financial institutions. At least a couple of institutions are there. Which one? Berkshire Hathaway and JP Morgan Chase. You see them moving along. So I'm not giving you a direct answer to say that there is going to be a whole raft of tech companies, but look for Broadcom is also hanging, which is around in the security area. So you're going to see biotech, transactional finance, and you're also going to see cybersecurity type of firms evolve and move towards that $500 billion to $1 trillion market cap. There will be look out for TSMC. TSMC, once it gets its act together, it will also move its journey along. I just want to be very careful, because of broker dealer. We are not giving you any stock opinion here. We're just simply responding to a generic question. You don't need to take any of this input, any of this advice. This is not a markets
Do
channel.
your own research. Do your
Do
own
your own
research.
research. So it's
Yes.
a generic kind of answer, which is effectively to say this is not a stock picking channel. Okay, so but we do give macro market and economic view as to how the markets are moving and what is driving those markets. So within that context, you see security technology companies. You look at Palo Alto Networks. Companies of those yield moving along. Cybersecurity is going to be very, very, very big domain adjacent to some of these infrastructure technology companies, which are already well ahead of their path.
Thank you so much, Sridharji. And that brings us to a close of today's episode. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you. Have a good day or have a great evening.